Happy Monday.
Hi,
Happy
honey, and
Monday. How's it
happy Bloody Monday.
going?
Good, good. It's a Bloody Monday, and welcome to Lightworkers Unite as we drink water, coffee, and blow our noses. I will me blowing my nose. Ugh.
Lightworkers Unite is a podcast and social show hosted by intuitive women, lightworkers, and most importantly, friends, Mayume and Manjeet. Welcome to our podcast, Lightworkers Unite, where we believe there is a lightworker within all of us.
Whether you are a medium, an educator, or a nuclear medicine technologist, there is a lightworker within you, and we have work to do.
This is a safe and sacred place where lightworkers connect, grow, and learn.
And share our light with the world. I don't know, I got kind of stuffy these last couple days. I'm like,
Is it the weather? Because with the crappy weather that we're having,
Yeah.
it is so disappointing. I know good weather's coming, and that's going to make me really happy. Really happy. I need it. I don't want this. I can't take it. And plus, my girls are coming home this week. Both of them.
Oh,
I fly out
yay.
tomorrow to go down and help Mandy move her stuff in storage, and then we fly back. And then Melina comes home Thursday. So I'm hoping that they come home to some decent weather because they'll be just pissed off.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and they're in the most beautiful places, right?
Oh
Like
my
Arizona,
God. Yeah.
and Texas/Europe.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, she's
Lord.
been in Europe for the last 16 weeks. She's in having her solo trip in Barcelona. Did I tell you that?
Oh, yeah.
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 So she's like 3 days on her own. I love it. That's kind of a nice way to wrap up because school is done for classes. And then she has this last solo trip before she comes home. So yeah, I'm hoping
Well,
that.
let me ask you this, since we're
Yes.
just getting started. I don't know. We're just rolling with it.
Yeah.
I know we have an itinerary, but that gets, put to the side all the time.
Spirit leads everything is what I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. We're just like, oh, wait a minute. I wanted to ask you, what is your favorite thing so Mother's Day is coming.
Mm-hmm.
And so we wanted to really honor the relationship of mothers. And I was just curious, you're talking about your daughters, and what would you say is your favorite thing about being a mom?
Oh, about being a mom.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. It's quite ridiculous. I love it. I miss the days when they were little. So for all you moms that have the craziness of raising babies and toddlers and tweens, you will miss it one day. You will absolutely miss it one day. So I love it when we are all together, of course. I mean, I got 3 of them. So when we're all together and we're doing, whether it's like watching a movie that we all love, or if it's just sitting and talking and playing a game, I love the togetherness. And I almost like want to pile in bed and like just snuggle with me. I just want to snuggle with them. They'd be appalled hearing this, I'm sure. But yeah, my favorite part is connecting with them and making them feel safe and having open conversation that can talk about what I just want them to always have access to me. And so I'm just kind of a vessel of comfort, I guess. I am all about comforting. I mean, and I have to kind of knock them around a little bit and like, hey, snap out of it when they're getting off track. But my favorite part is the comforting. I'm a comfort mom, which probably drives my husband a little crazy if you think about it, because then that means, that doesn't leave a whole lot of room for him to comfort. He has to balance this out. So he's much more of the disciplinary, I guess. I mean, I do some of that too, but I'm much more of I'm here, snuggle up. Everything's going to be okay.
A good balance though. I mean, right? Like I think that's,
Yeah, we have. It definitely goes back and forth. There's some times where they definitely get angry, frustrated with me, with mom. They'll be, I'm sure, talking to their girlfriends about what I did or said down the road. Right? And that's okay, as long as they know that they can always come home. I'm home. We are home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, it's a good thing. I know, I think it comes in phases, right? Like I know I'm listening to you talk and I'm like, yeah, there's definitely, that was a time when, there was a lot of nurturing and guidance and upbringing, like just the basics of being a good human,
Yes.
And I think right now I'm in this phase of mothering that's really interesting because it's less physical because, they're so busy and they're in their own world. Mira's in
Yes.
university and, Mina's a junior. So they're very independent. So I really love having these intellectual conversations with them about life.
Yeah.
Like right
Yeah.
now, that feels really like challenging them. And it's kind of cool for me because, it's kind of the first time that they're really, I know they know their mom is, drenched in science and has businesses. And, I'm kind of a busy working mom, outside the
Yeah.
home. And so, but now I think they're really starting to understand like the dynamics of being a power, a woman. Like you get to choose and decide how you want to see the world analytically and emotionally and spiritually, right? And so they're kind of looking at all of these things in a different way. And that to me is super exciting. These conversations are like, I feel like I get to showcase my personality more, like my all aroundness more, like
Yes.
well,
Yes.
mom would know how to answer that question,
That's right.
it's about calculus, right? And I'm like, yeah, I would know how to answer that question, but they just when they're little, they just need their shoes tied. And
Oh,
now it's
yes.
just so
Yes.
much so different
All the
now. And
other
they're
things, all the other things, all the advice that they need.
yes, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Guidance. And
guidance, lots of guidance. Yeah.
I'm kind of loving that. And to me, that's what, I think Mother's Day really means. It's like a morphing and changing of like who they need. Like even,
Yeah.
I'm sure you find this with your daughters. Like I sometimes feel like I'm a completely different mom with Mina than I am with Mira. Because what Mira, my oldest, needs is very different than what Mina needs. They're both very different
Correct.
personalities. And I'm kind of always like, oh, okay. She doesn't need me to sit and hold her hand.
Right.
Mina needs me to go, you know what? You can fucking do this. You need to get your shit together. Here are the 10 steps. She needs like strategy and encouragement. And whereas Mira's like, oh, honey, let's talk about it. Let's
Yeah.
process through it. And
They're
then she
all
goes into
different.
action on her own, So
Yeah.
it's so fascinating. But I
Yeah.
just really honor that about mothers, that is such a powerful role. And no matter how old they are, it kind of gives me hope, because I do mourn, like you said earlier, that the younger girls and the busyness of them skipping around and dressing them the same. And like, I just miss all that shit.
Yeah.
But I know that's,
For 24 hours. That's what I say. I miss it I would like to have them for 24 hours and then we'll just go ahead and send those little kids back. Yeah. But it's
different.
Each stage.
They need us differently.
We always said, I'm sure everyone out there, listeners, you guys did this too. Each stage that we would enter, I would say, freeze. This is it. This is the best. Please don't grow anymore. Just stay right here. And I would love it. John and I would both like, this is the best time. And then we'd get to the next phase and we'd be like, no, okay, freeze, stay right here. This is the phase. This is it. And it just kept getting better and better to where each time we would be like, isn't it awesome that we want to freeze time now? Like we were in the moment and enjoying their growth and their expansion into these young women. And quite honestly, we do love it now. Our house is very quiet. It's going to get real loud in a couple of days, but it is, we kind of honor each stage and say, this is so nice. They're so great. And watching how each one leaves the house. I mean, because when they're gone, they're gone. Lena's been gone for a while, right? She's a junior in college. So we've been kind of used to that. She comes home for the summer. So having the girls home for the summer is great. But there's lots of transitions, that have to happen. Right. And I just talked to my girlfriend who said she had both of her older daughters who are older than mine come home for the weekend. Right. And I said, so, how did it go for the few days? She goes, 12 hours. It was good for 12 hours.
Oh no. Well, it's tough because they're turning into these adults, right? These mini adults.
Yeah.
And they're used to their own space and their own time schedule. And then you come
Oh
home
my
and it's like,
gosh.
wait, we got rules again? What the hell? It is a
Yeah.
very known phenomenon, right? Coming back.
Oh
And,
yes, everyone knows
it's
it.
just
It
like,
is. Yep, we
boo.
are
Yeah.
boo. I expect it. Yeah, one's in the sororities and partying every weekend and living in the sun and just what are we going to eat? Where are we going to go? On top of her studies, of course. I'm so proud of her. And then the other one's been traipsing all
Yeah.
around Europe. She's been to like
I
10
love
different
it.
cities in the last 16 weeks. And yeah, that's going to be really hard. She loves the thought of coming home, but at the same time, she's also
Aw.
sick about like it ending that whole beautiful
Oh, I
experience,
bet. Yeah, it's
right?
going to be a morning. Yeah, you're going to get all that,
Yes,
right? Like
yes,
preparing yourself as a mother, mourning her, watching her mourn the loss of this exploratory year, right?
yeah,
That is, that's going to be tough. Yeah, I'm sure for both of you, and Johnny. Like just but it's
absolutely.
good now, you get to prepare yourself. It's a big part of being a mother, I think.
Yeah,
Parenting
yeah,
is anticipating, okay, she's going to be one of like 5 ways. And I want to just be ready for all of
for
that,
which
right?
all of it. Yeah, yeah.
If
It's
she's like
gonna,
this, I'm going to hold space. I'm going to do this. I'm going to
yeah,
just give her some resources or, whatever that
yeah.
looks like. I know.
Exactly, exactly. So it's
Yeah.
going to be really interesting. It's going to be a weird week, full of
I
lots
can't
of
wait.
excitement and emotions, and yeah, it's going to be
Hmm.
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we'll recap next week. We'll
Oh
do a
yeah,
quick
yeah.
on the
We should
podcast. Oh God, how did it go with the
we should
Corelli house?
we should interview Dana because she's the one that's going to be the most affected.
Oh no, bless her heart. Yes,
She's had the
she'd be
whole
like,
house to
"What?"
herself. What the? Yeah, I know. It's gonna be
She'd be
great.
like, "This is fucking crazy.
I know I
What the
said I
hell?"
miss
Yeah,
them and I want them to come home, but yeah. Yeah,
I
yeah.
know, I love it.
So yeah.
No, I love it. I think, and Mother's Day is coming up, this
Yes.
weekend. So, um, and well, I was just going to go back 1 second. I know you were saying about the freezing, and I'm trying to remember if I ever had that thought, and I don't think I ever did feel
No
like,
way.
no, I don't think I've ever like felt like I don't want this to end. I've never, I don't know, maybe that's weird, but I mean, I
No.
honored it and loved it, but I never felt like, um, I don't want this to end. This is so, I always thought, oh my God, this is great. I can't wait for the next one. Like I always felt like, oh, I can't wait. Like,
Yeah.
oh my
Yeah.
God, when she starts really talking to me, like
Mhm.
what, I don't know. I never really ever felt like freezing time, but I have heard that many times from mothers. So
Yeah.
I don't, there's
It's
no
more of
wrong way
a,
to do it, but
no, there's no right or wrong. It was just an
yeah.
emotion. I think that you're feeling like, wow, more of a gratitude for the present moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gratitude for the phase that you're in. Like this is
Mhm.
awesome. Yeah. This is
Like
awesome.
right now, like this
Like
moment right now. Yeah.
yes, it was like,
Mhm.
oh, just you stay like that, stay like that, stay like that. Just like and so sometimes I want to invite those three little girls. My dad used to say this, and now I totally get it. He used to say when we were adults, like in our 20s, I wish that I can invite those three little kids back for just to spend an afternoon
Oh,
with me. And
yeah.
it's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh yeah. And I guess I honor all of their stages, all of their growth, but boy, raising children is a small slice, that small slice in the pie of life that you are having children in your home and you're raising them, like,
Yeah.
right? And
And
then
then it's over.
and then the majority of it is you're hanging out with your adult children, right? So
Yeah.
that's cool. It's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I shared with you before. This is was a very personal moment for me. I had seen, we have the Google photos, right? And I think
Yeah.
this is something that our parents didn't have, like this access to all this technology. Like we
Yeah.
have every home video uploaded to like the fucking cloud, right? Like we
Yes.
can access that little girl on the roller coaster that William
Yes.
filmed, her whole face the entire time.
Yes.
And when your husband's a filmmaker,
Yeah.
you got a
Yeah.
lot of shit, a lot of material.
I
And
love it.
so this is a different kind of time when you can actually go back, right? And look at, these videos of them. Like our parents didn't have that. I know for me, our parents were too poor to have really a VCR, right? And this is in the, 70s and 80s, right? So that technology wasn't even around. So I feel like now too, we have a bit of an advantage. Like we can see these photos
Yeah.
of our children. Like, I think I might have maybe 2 or 3 pictures. I've shared that with you just offline of me as a child. I have
Yeah.
very few. I don't even have a picture of me. I have one picture of me as an infant because, we were a struggling, poor family, immigrant
Yeah.
family in England. And
Yeah.
I was the youngest of 4. And so
Yeah.
I just have no baby pictures, really,
Yeah.
none. So it's a really beautiful thing, to see, how much we have, right, of our
Of
children now.
theirs.
I'm
Yeah.
so grateful because I have nothing really.
Yeah.
And
I
then
have very, I have
move,
very
right?
little too. Very little from
Yeah.
Vietnam. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just a weird time, but I was looking at the Google pictures, and they're just like a plethora of images over the years, like 14 years ago, right? These
On
pictures
this
show up,
day, I know,
that. Yeah.
I love those.
Oh,
On this
I
day.
love it.
Yeah,
I
I
feel so
love it.
nostalgic. Yeah. Well, I don't even know how this happened, but I had this picture of me nursing Mina. And, after they nurse and they just flop their head because they're so
Yeah.
OD'd, they're like
Oh my
overdosed
God.
on
It's
like
like,
breast milk.
yes,
And they're like
yes,
coming out of their mouth. They're
yes.
just like, and
It's
they're in heaven, right?
best. They're in heaven.
And
They're so
and
comfort.
it's such a beautiful feeling, right? And this is how I remember like my most maternal moments is like in those moments of watching,
Mhm.
feeding, if it's through a bottle or your breast, it doesn't matter,
Correct.
but
Yep. Yep.
it's still the same intimacy. And I just remember for me, it was significant because it was my left breast. And I had
Mm.
literally, she'd just fallen off my breast and I pulled my shirt down and William took a picture. And
Mm.
so this picture came up and I
Whoa.
saw it, of course, as all of you know, my left
Mhm.
breast is gone, right?
Yeah.
I
Oh,
don't have that anymore because of my mastectomy, 7 weeks ago. And so I just thought like, wow, like this is such an interesting picture that it would show up like this. And I just felt so, wow, like that was my breast.
yeah.
That was the way I mothered her in that moment. And
Yeah.
just seeing her face and just how I was looking down at her. And I just was like blown away, like, oh my God. And so I told William Russell, I showed him, of course. And I was like, really kind of emotional, obviously, right? Like, oh my God, like this is like, I don't have that breast anymore. And he looked at me and he goes, oh man. And then he says, well, it did its job.
Yeah. And that's
And then
literally the truth.
yeah. And I was like, I'm moving on.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, we're done. That was it. Okay. You're right.
My God.
It was just so great because I was kind of like not spiraling, but I was kind of like going down this like,
And he was like,
oh,
nope.
yeah. He was like, oh well, it worked.
Yeah. It did its
Next.
job.
It did its job.
Yeah.
And it was so poignant and perfect. And I was like, and we're done. Okay,
Yeah.
let's move on. For those of you who know my husband know that's him in a nutshell. Like we don't dwell on shit. We're not going to go there. Like it's great. And what a blessing, but it's okay. You're okay. And I was like, all right. But it was just so funny, thinking about these moments of being a mother and nurturing and then what we're going through and trying to like merge all these things. And it doesn't make me less of a mother that I don't
Right.
have my breast
Right.
anymore. Right. Like that's
Exactly.
my story in Mother's Day this year is
Yeah.
this doesn't make me less of a mother.
Of
right?
course not. Of course not. Of
But
course
yeah, it
not.
was weird. Sorry. It
Yeah.
was so weird. Like,
No, there's so many emotions, Manj, that are happening with you. You're not
Yeah.
far from this happening. Please
Mhm.
let's make sure that we understand you just had surgery.
Yeah.
You did. This all just is happening. So of course, here comes
Yeah.
May and here comes the Mother's Day and feeling and connecting with our body and our breasts and our children. That is all part of being
Yeah.
female, these beautiful female
Yes.
bodies. So honoring, that beautiful left breast, honoring her and like that she was able to do that. Think about those
Yeah.
those people who aren't able to breastfeed their babies, right? I mean, I
Yeah.
know this. I had girlfriends who they just couldn't. It did either
Yeah.
hurt too bad, or just, it just wasn't working. They couldn't latch,
Yeah, for
all the
sure.
things, right? And so, but yes, your
Yeah.
beautiful left breast. We'll just
I
honor her on
know.
Mother's Day. We'll honor her on Mother's Day for
Aw, thank you.
getting little Mira drunk. It was Mira, right? Mira was, yeah.
Actually, this picture was of Mina.
It was
So
Mina. Okay, I
yeah,
wasn't sure which
yeah.
one you were. It was Mina.
We'll
Little
have to
drunk
post
Mina.
it if you want. Yeah, it's so, I mean, you don't see my titty or anything, so
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
fine. It's going to be PG, so it'll be fine. She just looks like a drunk little
Yes.
blob
Yeah.
with her head flopped
It's so
between,
cute.
I know it's such
Love
an
that.
amazing thing, but yeah, I know you're right. I'm healing. And I think this is kind of like maybe leading us into this next really important part of our conversation today is, you know, I am healing, physically, and I'm feeling a lot stronger and all that good stuff. But then there's all this emotional healing, right? After any kind of major surgery, like whether it's especially like we're talking about Mother's Day, like a hysterectomy. I have a really dear friend of mine undergoing, a hysterectomy, and we kind of shared in kind of the same feeling of loss and it connection with our feminine divinity, and I guess that's a perspective that we can choose, like whether I want to sit in that or not, like it doesn't define me, but it was a big part of me as a female, so like whether you're there's the physical part of the surgeries, but then there's all this emotional healing, right? And this is like generational stuff, right? Like healing sometimes that comes up that as a mother, we I don't know if we have enough conversation around that,
Yeah.
healing,
Right.
healing in mothers. And
Yeah. I think you're right. And sometimes it comes late, right? It comes later in life. I think where
yes,
it's healing.
yeah,
Because when you're a teenager, you don't want to think about ways to heal from your mom. You're not in that. And there's a different dynamic when you're teenagers are selfish. I mean, and I'm not meaning that in a bad way. It's just the truth. We're super focused as teenagers on our journey and our life and who am I and where am I going?
And they should be. That they should be. Yeah.
Agreed, as they should be.
Yeah.
And so it's funny, here I am 54. Oh my God, I'm 54. 54. And that sounded so weird saying it out loud. But 54.
I know, right? I hear you. I'm like, what? How am I this old already?
It's so crazy, mid 50s here. And honoring the healing of the motherhood, my healing as a mom, and then the healing of my own mother who has suffered greatly in her life, and knowing that as an adult and being able to actually see that and understand what she went through. I could not understand that when I was a child or a teenager.
Yeah.
It was later in life to really understand what my own mom was going through on her soul journey as this beautiful soul in life, and all the struggles she went through. And then the pain and suffering that her mother went through, who unfortunately died when my mother was 6 years old. And my mom recalls she can still smell her mom. She remembers the scent of her mom. Isn't that interesting? And how she used to care, and the scent of her milk. So speaking of breasts and breast milk and feeding, my mom would talk about that, how she would remember being, because back then you could be 2 or 3 or 4 walking around and then, stick out the breast because they were poor and didn't have anything. So she would get breast milk, later. And she remembers that. Drinking from my mom's, what did she call it? She called it titty, actually.
Yeah.
Really. But that's how my mom references the boobs to my mom's titty. And so I honor her pain and her suffering. And I want to help her, and heal her. And I always say, gosh, I hope that I know that I went through pain and suffering before my children were born, right? With my father's murder, that all happened before I got married and before I had children. And yet they probably are carrying some of my trauma from just being inside of me. And so I have to honor that, this motherhood. So I'd love to share, and we have not shared this. I think we've talked about it, but I don't think I've shared
Yeah.
it on air. I went to the Hay House conference back in March, and I was so fortunate to take Rebecca Campbell's workshop there, and it was healing the mother ancestral lines. And I was like, oh shit, I was like, I can't even believe I'm taking this class right now. It was so profound. It was so insanely powerful. And there's no words, but what she did for this group, and there was probably maybe 80 of us in the room, right? And she played this beautiful music, meditation music. And of course, it's recordings of her voice because she does a lot of singing and a lot of voice work. And she even joked,
Chanting,
chanting mantras. She even joked that she's not a singer in her Australian accent. I am not a singer. And she said, but she was called to do this work. So in this meditation, the words were unbound, unbound, forever unbound. And she walked us through this journey. It was so intense. And this meditation, and walked us through this journey of going through grandmothers. And so I saw in my meditation this woman come up to me, and I knew right away who she was. She was my grandmother, my mom's mom, who I've never met. Of course, I don't even have a photo. There's no photos of her anywhere of my mom's parents. And she came up, and she was missing some teeth. Okay, I'm just going to say I noticed that and she smiled, and I knew her, she knew me, and she touched our foreheads touched, and she was so, oh God, I'm going to cry. She was so, like, loved me so much. And her words were, I'm so sorry, my daughter. She didn't have enough time with her daughter because my mom was 6. So that, and I remember in the chanting and all of that, I was saying, it's okay. I'm here to help heal, and I'm here to break the pattern of suffering. And behind her were these women, all these Asian women on the ground, on their knees, looking at me, and I knew there was rape, there was torture, there was abandonment. I could see it all. I felt it all. There was all this knowing that I was helping clear some of that and healing them. And they were saying, thank you. It was intense and so powerful. And after that, you look around, because I kind of like want to peek around, open my eyes, because I'm like, I know what I look like. What does everyone else look? Everyone is bawling, tears, so much healing. And then we all gave her a standing ovation afterwards. It was so deserved. It was the most healing workshop I've ever experienced. And then, of course, when I came back home, I couldn't wait to see my mom after this healing, to see how she was. But when I had to move her into her new memory care home, for those who follow me on my newsletter, my subscribers, I shared that we were able to get this home. And I was so worried, filled with anxiety, almost to tears, about having to tell her that I had to move her out of my home, out of her home, and into a strange place. Well, it could not have, it was a miracle. She was like, okay, are we going now? And she's watching. I mean, I was like, what? I just said, Mom, this is the best thing ever. You're going to love it here. And okay. And she took her little coffee mug and little bag of seaweed. And she's like, can I bring this? Yes, you can bring your seaweed, Mom. And we got into the car and took her there. And I think about this in hindsight. I feel that healing that I did for her and her mother, and her mother's mother, and her mother's mother. I think that allowed her to be able, her soul, to say, yes, this is the next phase of my life, with ease and grace, because that's what it was. She did. We moved her in with ease and grace. And that is just not heard of, So that experience, to me, that's what I feel this Mother's Day. I'm honoring all those beautiful moms in my ancestors, my lineage of moms, and my own mom and her little space. I'm excited to have her see the girls, that we're going to be all together. And it's going to be great. It's going to be really healing for all of us.
I mean, it's just so powerful, right? Like, if you can find these opportunities to do that really deep healing. I had a very similar ancestral female mothering healing session with actually my my wellness doctor after my first diagnosis with breast cancer. And it was really cool. And she brought me into this really deep meditation. And we kind of did the same thing where I was acknowledged by all of these powerful women in my life that, I have never met. And they were primarily Indian, and then they were Egyptian. And so they were like all this, it just went on and on and on. And I just remember thinking, they're all here for me. Like I felt so tiny.
Yes.
Like I felt like, oh, this problem is really not that big of a problem because these bitches got me.
Yeah.
Like they got me. Like I was so.
And they've been through some shit too, right? Like,
the pain. Yeah.
right?
I was so emotional, but it was interesting because I didn't see as much of their pain. All I kept hearing from my ancestors in this moment was, give me your fear. Because I was living in a bit of fear right after the diagnosis. And, especially with breast cancer, it's genetic. So I'm thinking about my daughters. Like I'm not going there, but I know it's there. And I think this is a really big part of healing is just by acknowledging your fears doesn't mean you're living in fear. Okay. Right. It's important to acknowledge the fear, but we just, we have to figure out ways to mitigate that. And pretending like it doesn't exist is really toxic, actually, because you're not seeing the truth. Right. So I kind of was like, okay. And I'm, of course, I have developmental biology as my major. Right. So I'm very like, this is, there's a seed that I'm like my daughters. Right. And so when I went into this meditation with these powerful women, they're these deities, goddesses, they felt like, and they were like, they just kept saying, give me your pain. Like they had their hands out like this. And I just went into my heart and I was like dumping it into them. And they kept putting it back and taking it back to the next woman, the next woman, the next woman, until I had nothing left, And so it was just this visual of me. And every time I released something, I remember one of the ladies in the far back, she had this beautiful gold sari, like an Indian dress. It was like over her left shoulder, actually, ironically. And she said, you're not done yet. Give us more. Give us the last bit. Because I was holding on to something else that I didn't even know. And I think this is the power, right, of our ancestors, of our beautiful sovereignty. We can't hide from them.
Yeah.
So it was very like, oh, what? There's more. There's one more piece. And I remember I dug really deep, and then I pulled out this like black rock and I just gave it away, And I did. I felt transformed. I felt different because they were for me.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel like I'm living a lot of that too. And my body now is like this transgenerational healing, that's happening on many levels and planes of existence. Right.
Yeah.
So it's and that's a whole nother episode.
Yeah.
But, I love that we both had these powerful ancestral, mother, connections. And I think the biology is cool. I'm just going to read this little thing. Maybe this will help our listeners. This is just one of the best ways to describe this is your grandmother carried a part of you inside of her womb, right? And then people would ask, well, how is that possible? And essentially a female fetus is born with all of her eggs that she will have her entire lifetime. Okay. Right. So when your grandmother was carrying your mother in her womb, right, you were a tiny egg in your mother's ovaries.
Yes.
So this is the science behind this, right? This concept that is how the three of you have been connected for a very long, long time. Before you were a sentient being on the planet, you existed inside your grandmother.
That's right.
Yeah. So it's just a very, it's biology, right? It is absolutely biochemistry. It's DNA, right? It is an actual, physiological part of ourselves. So sometimes when we feel trauma or anxiety or fear, or even physical ailments, might be an opportunity to say, is that mine? Right? As a woman, is this mine? And that doesn't mean you can negate it or like forget about it. it just kind of helps us, like kind of what you were saying, it kind of helps put things in perspective. Like,
Mhm.
this doesn't feel like mine
Right.
necessarily, but I'm
Right.
still going to work through it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. All of that.
fascinating.
And it makes me also think with my three daughters now,
Yeah,
how
absolutely. Yeah.
they're going to go through some things that is not theirs. It's going to be mine
Yeah.
and their grandmothers,
Yes.
right? I mean,
Mhm.
so, and just having them have that awareness now early, not 54,
Yeah.
maybe will help them understand some of the
Mhm.
struggles that they may endure in this journey. But I
Yeah.
just think we women are very strong, and I honor it. And John used to say this to me, and I know
Mhm.
he would acknowledge it now. And it was something I thought was kind of cute, but I really love it now. But when we first met, he said to me, he's like, you know what? I really love how you love and are proud to be a woman. He goes, you love being female, don't you? And he did. And he said it in like a way that respectfully, because I guess I must have shown that. And I said, I do. I'm proud to be a female.
Mm.
I am. And
Mhm.
he said he loved that about me, that I was proud
Mm.
to be female, that I honored who I was. And that, because he would, of course, turn around and go, because I could never be female. No, John Corelli, you cannot. But, and I said, well,
Mm.
don't you like being a male? And he's like, I do. I do. There's a lot of things. And he goes, I see and acknowledge the differences. I just find that really cool that you
Oh.
love being a woman. And I like, I mean, I didn't even realize, I was 25 back then when we met. So
Mm.
I
He
guess
saw
even
that.
back,
Yeah.
he saw that I was proud to
Mm.
be a woman. And I am.
Yeah.
I think we
Yeah.
women are awesome. And I
No.
love my sisterhood. I love my female friends. And obviously, I don't know, God gave me three daughters. Or maybe God gave John three daughters. Maybe that's what it is. Yeah. He's
He
the one
likes
that
the
needs
female energy. So, I mean, he sent that to the universe, man.
Yeah, be sure to. There might be a lesson or two in there, I have a feeling. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I do. Yeah, I think it is interesting. I think one of the big things that I feel is transgenerational in the way that I mother, because you're talking about now, we have, ironically, we have these two daughters. I have three, two, you have three. I think about like how I love them, in this life. And the common denominator, I've talked about this so many times on other episodes, is food. I know my grandmother, who I grew up with, like, she lived with us when I was very, very young. So she was a staple in our house. And watching her grow old was just a part of my life. It's a very Indian thing to do, right? You live
Yeah.
with your family. And so and she lived to like 103. So she was she was with us for a long time,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
fantastic, right? And so she cooked all the time. That's really where I first learned about food and nourishment and food being a love language.
Yes.
Right. And so my grandmother, when my mom was working, was the one who walked me to the bus and, was the one who it told me all of the nighttime stories in Punjabi, right? Like these Indian stories. My cousins and I still laugh and talk about them all the time. But she had all of these, you know, crazy, stories and she would make all this amazing food, right? And she would grow her own seeds to make in masala, right?
Mhm.
Which my mother does to this day. So I use the same spices that my mother's mother used and probably her mother used in
Yeah.
India, right? And so
Yeah.
the food is becoming this really powerful umbilical cord in my life
Mm.
of
Mhm.
honoring her, my
Yeah. Of
mother,
course.
and of course, like all of that
Yeah.
before that I don't consciously know or remember.
Yeah.
And it's funny to see that my girls have this love of cooking as well.
Mm.
So they're kind of watching me, and I love watching them eat my food. Do you like it? Do you like it? Did you?
Oh my
It's
gosh.
super annoying, but I love hearing that. Why it's just such an interesting thing. So it might be an interesting question for our audience. Like, what are the threads that connect you? it might be food, it might be music, right? It might be words, it might be photos, it might be, a home you live in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is that? I agree. It's beautiful. Food is so important. And I think because you and I obviously have massive cultural
Yeah.
generations of culture and coming from not America, and coming from outside of that. And even though I was born in Vietnam, I still came here when I was 2. So I'm very Americanized. I get that, and my children are. And my mom tried really hard to be American as well. I remember her saying that because she was so afraid of being Vietnamese in America during that time after the war. And so she would try to cook so many of the foods that my dad liked. So she would copy my grandmother's recipes, my dad's mom.
Mm-hmm.
And also, she would make her own spaghetti and meatballs and things, and which was a lot more like chop suey. I'm just going to be honest. And so, but she was doing liver and onions once. I was like, what? But she would mix it in with then her beautiful meals. And that's what I remember is then she would be like, I can't make this for you anymore. I got to make this. And she would make the Vietnamese pancake. It's called bun sao. And you can get these at, pho restaurants and pho, it just all the things. And I loved that. And she would continue to make that until she, of course, couldn't anymore with her dementia, Alzheimer's. And I kind of regret she didn't write anything down. I'm sure your mom, like there's no recipes.
No.
They don't.
No.
They just throw it together. And as much as I watched, and there's some things I can make of hers, I wish that my daughters, we kind of missed out on, would have watched her cook, and they love to eat it, but they didn't really immerse in the cooking. So
yeah,
it's kind of stopped. Like it stopped with my mom.
Interesting.
Yeah. Oh, my mother-in-law is an amazing cook too. Hi, Rose, if you're listening. She with her gravy, they call it gravy, not marinara sauce, from where she's from. That recipe got passed down to me. And I'm thinking, I'm this little Vietnamese girl and I'm going to make this, right, to honor my husband and my daughters because of the Italian heritage. And so I'm hoping that right now, life is crazy. We're not cooking in the kitchen because they're not here. And so food has it's kind of faded, I would say. It doesn't have the importance. Meals together, yes, but the food. And so I hearing you talk, it makes me think, I need to honor my mom and bring her recipe or the foods that I know that she made and try to replicate that and pass it down. I
love it.
Yeah. Food is a great love language. It's beautiful. Many people, food and meals and gathering for a meal is so important. As John says, Sunday supper, what time is supper? And, and that's when everyone would come together for supper, and it's usually 4 because you had the old people who ate at 4, went to bed at 6 or 7. And it's the gathering on Sundays for a meal. And so, we're going to get together on this Mother's Day with my mom and we're going to go out though. It'll be easier to just kind of bring her to a restaurant and we'll spend that time and then I'll bring her back home. I'm afraid to bring her back to our house, man. She hasn't been back to our house. She doesn't remember living here, but I'm afraid it's going to trigger memories and she's going to be like, I don't want to go back. I want to stay. Again, all these fears. Yeah. So I haven't brought her back here yet. No, but anyway.
Oh, well, you'll know when you're ready. You'll know. Yeah. You'll know when you're ready to do that. Cause it is definitely a predicament, right? Like you don't know it's unpredictable, her mental state. So you want it to, you might, have to be a little more cautious than
we are, but keeping the
regular
structure.
Person. Yeah. It's important. Yeah. I think it's really cool. I just really love this conversation, but I just want to offer also acknowledge that, there are a lot of people out there that really struggle with Mother's Day, right? They really struggle with the fact that, and I mean, I reflect on my mother and her life. And, we were an immigrant family. My mom was primarily Punjabi speaking. There was a huge disconnect, culturally. I was born in England and grew up in Canada. And she was born and raised in India and then had to kind of adapt, just like your mom, to this American Canadian, in my case, Canadian culture. And it was really difficult, I think, for her on lots of different levels, and even just speaking the language. And so, although we have a fantastic relationship now, there are definitely points in our relationship that were really rough because we were growing up in these completely different expectations.
Yes.
And all of these things. And so, I just want to honor that we are reflecting on our mothers in a very loving way today, because it's a choice, right? And it's our choice to say, oh, let's focus on those things that tie us together versus separate us, because we can also talk about that too, right?
Yeah.
How mothers and daughters, their relationships can be very tumultuous and very painful.
Very.
And so I just want to honor all of those beautiful daughters out there that find this holiday. Just need to take a deep breath, right? Find this holiday challenging, and difficult. I'm seeing all of my girlfriends that are, I've lived with them sharing their pain and of their relationships with their mother, and really never having a feeling of resolution. And so I just want to send you love, and all of us love and light during this day. And that, even though it might not be the easiest day for you, it is a day that is an opportunity for your healing, potentially. Yeah.
Yes, I agree. My relationship was very tumultuous with my mother up until my dad died, to be honest. And then he was part of that triangle. And once he was removed, then we had no other option than to face one another and be together. And that was the absolute silver lining. If you could pull a silver lining out of my dad's murder.
Absolutely.
That was the silver lining, is that I got to have this relationship with my mom. Yeah, it changed. It took a while, but it changed. But and those that don't have a mom, there's plenty that maybe have lost their mom. So this holiday brings pain. So we honor all of you listeners out there, your relationship, lack of a relationship, whatever it is this Mother's Day. And maybe you don't need to do anything this Mother's Day, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
absolutely. We just want to honor all of the emotion, all of the things that come around this day, and share some of our pain and healing, and offer that. And we hope it serves you, because, no matter what, you are a beautiful soul on this planet and deserve love, from all of us. So I just love you too. Thank you, my sister, for this awesome conversation.
It was a great conversation to talk about our mamas and our motherhood. I really love starting off that way, actually.
I know.
Yes, and our girls. So thanks everyone for listening. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Can we just do a quick little promotion? Well, if you want to join Manjeet and myself, we are going to do an evening with Spirit Wednesday, May 22nd. So 5/22 at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. So that's 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And so we're just going to hop on. It's going to be virtual. You can register on our link tree, and we'll send you the link. It's $44. Bless you.
Sorry.
$44. Yeah. And just come, and we're going to do readings, spiritual readings. So we're going to bring in all of your spirit team and departed loved ones, angels, spirit guides, and there may be a message for you. So join us. We cannot guarantee that you will get a reading. It's basically a public demonstration of where we're going to come in and feel the group. And so as spirit comes in, we'll try to connect. And so if you have done this before, we've done one other time, we've done this together. I've done these many times. So you will absolutely love the structure. It's okay to be online. The connection is just as powerful. So don't worry about that. So we hope that
it's going to be unbelievable. And we also have 3 spots left for our Meet Your Spirit Guides workshop. And that's starting next week. And so if that is resonating with you, oh my gosh, Mayume and I have been masterminding this whole 3-week workshop And I am aren't you super psyched? It's going to be
it's gonna be so great.
so amazing.
So amazing.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's going to be, mhm.
Yeah, sorry. I was just saying it's the group. I know it's all divine. So if you're meant to be there, you'll be there. But yeah, we've got 3 spots left. It's going to be intimate. It's only 10 people. We want it to be a beautiful, intimate workshop where you will really get what you need out of this. And we're going to tap in and find out who your guides are. And you're going to know their names.
Yes.
You're going to get signs and you're going to build this beautiful
Oh my
relationship. It's going to be so fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And even if you know your guides, this is just deepening the connection and just be open to the wonderment of other guides that want to come forward.
That's right.
And if you have no idea who your guides are at all, that's awesome as well, because we're going to start right from the grassroots and over the course of the 3 weeks, really build the foundation of you creating a deepened connection with your guides for, fucking guidance and, oh gosh, just power, right? Like, really reinforcing what you're doing in your life, that you're on the right path, right? So we cannot wait to see you guys. We got some fun events in May. Check it out. We love you. And I love you, Mayume.
Yes, love you, man. This is how you sign up, you guys. Go to our Instagram page.
Oh, yeah.
Go to our Linktree page, which is Linktree /Lightworkers Unite. So if you go into Linktree, they'll ask for the profile. It's Lightworkers Unite. You're going to find all of our stuff there, and you just click and join us. All right.
Yay!
All right. Thanks, guys.
I love it. Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day, everyone. Love to you. Bye.
Love you. Love you. Bye.
Namaste.
Namaste.